Rock and roll. Kia ora, everybody. What's up? It is Robett. Welcome to Robett Live, episode 291, I believe. Doing these a while, learning a lot, and I hope your Friday is a-okay in Aotearoa. Today, without any further ado, we'll just get straight into it. Enough pissing around. Day's been going on. Let's get into it. Dave Letele, how are you, my bro?
Hey, what's up, team? You all good, brother?
All good. I feel like we've got some competition going on. I'm gaining weight, you're losing weight, and you've got more hair than me. It feels like a tag team gone wrong, mate.
My hair is starting to thin, so I haven't minded not being able to get a haircut. It's grown a bit, but it's getting a bit unruly.
I'm getting jealous of you, my man. Maybe we'll start here, bro. I think the weight and pressure that has been going on everyone right now feels to be getting heavier. From what you're seeing in the community with what you do and how you do it, what's the tone of the souls of all the people who you were touching on a basis that, especially even over the last through lockdown, how's the souls of these humans that you're messing with over the last 10 weeks? How would you describe it? Sorry, we started so deep, bro. I just figured we'll just jump into it.
Yeah, uncertain, worried, scared. And when we help mainly families, with children, and there's no worse feeling. I mean, you've got, how many kids you got?
Yeah, 2 daughters now, 2 and 4.
2 daughters. So you can only imagine as a parent what it would feel like to not be able to feed your kids, and how that must feel, and and how you just feel a sense of hopelessness, fear, and anger, and that's the feeling out there. It's even yesterday I went to help a mother in emergency housing. She's got 6 kids. And these emergency housing, it's not a house, it's a hotel room, in a lodge. They're put there by winds because their house burnt down. And they just, they feel abandoned, not knowing what to do. They've got no food. I went there and I took her $250 of pack and save vouchers. And then the kids got no clothes, so everything burnt down. So I've hooked her up with a guy called Grant Webster, who's a friend of ours and Rob's, and he's going to organise them, some clothes. So it's just, a real sense that some of these people just feel abandoned. And one thing that COVID has done is it's shone a light on this gap between the haves and the have-nots. And that's why the work that we're doing is, especially the way that we're able to showcase it on platforms like LinkedIn. It's showing, I remember I was talking to Blair Vernon from AMP.
Yeah.
And he come out and met me, real amazing guy who's ended up sponsoring the food bank. You know what he said is that people before COVID were already in their bubbles, And some people would never even understand that there's people, that there's children going through rubbish looking for food, that there's parents going out and stealing for food. That people just don't understand. So that's one thing that's come out of COVID, is that we can highlight and show that, hey, this was going on long before COVID. It's just gotten worse, and unfortunately, it's going to go on long after.
When you get to the nuts and bolts of it, when you talk about that family with their situation right now, you always think about they wake up this morning, they're in a hotel room, they've got six kids around them, where do they go and what they do, and the loneliness and isolation, the abandonment, all those things are real. But if anything, it feels like it's been extrapolated and got worse, heavier emotionally when everyone else is sort of going through it too. How, maybe just for quick context, for those that aren't aware of, I guess mini pivot that you've sort of done from going from almost the gym to the food bank. Maybe let's just get quick context, start there, because obviously you've been going hard on that. How did you get into the food bank business?
It was a massive pivot. Look, BBM's always been about the people and serving our community. So, all the boot camps and everything we've done, everything's always been free. And the whole food bank started out of level 4 last year. I got a call from a social worker asking if I can help a family out south. Now, the social workers based out west, their funding didn't cover the family out south, and this is the crazy thing about the system. It's filled with bureaucracy and red tape and all this sort of rubbish. So they had no more funding allocated that they could help this family, but they knew of the family. So the lady was a good social worker, a friend of mine, so she reached out to me. I helped her. When we took the shopping out, the kids come running up saying, Mum, we've got food now. And that story I've told 1,000 times because that's what's made me think, okay, I saw this mum of 4 kids, no food, no money, day before level 4. And then I saw the kids so happy that they had some food. And I thought, geez, anyone that's already struggling now, that just had their head above water, is going to drown. So right there and then I started the food bank, right at that moment, because I could. And that's the way that things need to be done. If you can help, do it. You don't need to overthink things. If you can help, doesn't matter if it's $1 or $1 million, every single cent helps, So we started, and then I just went, anything I do, I give my all. And I went hard, and I tried to find as many supports as I could. One of the first people I rang was Chris Quinn from Foodstuffs, and we're lucky because I don't know how it's happened, but because of the profile that we've had built up over time, and I've showcased it on social media, we're able to connect straight onto, CEO or chairman level, where decision makers, and they supported us straight away.
I'll jump in on that for you. The ninja move you did was you documented your journey on the platform where the decision makers were. And all the LinkedIn lurkers, which are the ones that they don't like, they don't comment, they don't engage, because they are the ones who look at everything, and they are usually the CEOs and the chairs and the boards of everything. They see everything. And I keep telling people, just because people aren't engaging with your stuff, don't think that the right person has actually seen it, but they choose not to engage because it can't be seen as their personal opinion for something. And what I absolutely love about what you've done specifically is you've used a platform of commerce directly for charity and the community for good. And the way you've done it needs kudos, because honestly, I've told a couple people about it. I was like, bro, the ninja move, which what you've done, is gone straight to the top of power with the access, straight one-to-one, cut through all the bullshit and I guess the red tape, and you're not emailing info@packandsave.co.nz with the subject line, oh, hook us up some free food, G. It's yo, Chris, let's do this shit. And he's come out, he's seen it, then you get the X. And I think the growth loop of how you've navigated those that engage with you into the content itself, so they become part of that journey, then their organizations, I don't know if you're not a dumb guy, you know exactly what's happening. They put the fuel on the fire because they want that clout and flex to be supporting it because they know it's genuine. So you've almost created a kind of like a social content movement direct on social media for business, but done for charity. And I think that, from someone that very much appreciates content and creativity and strategy, is flippin' epic, man, because to your point, because your strategy has been better, you have been able to help more people. You see what I'm saying? And I think it's absolutely awesome. So I don't want to jump in again, but it just needed to be said because it's flipping smart.
Yeah, I only started using LinkedIn really maybe a couple of years ago properly. I just never. Hey, thanks, bro. I just thought it was a job site. I had no idea really what LinkedIn was. My whole boxing stuff, all this thing was all done on Facebook. And then I had a good look, and it was a guy from Tyrone Grace from Urakura, young guys, and they talked to me about LinkedIn. And then I started exploring it, and then they said, if you want to get to the top of let's say Teagle, who have now and Ingham's. So Ingham's, just on a side note, Ingham's, I did a post. A guy messaged me yesterday, and today we pick up 10 pallets of chicken.
Let's go. Let's go, LinkedIn. Pallets. Let's go.
And it's just been unbelievable, and just being able to connect. So I started, and then I said, oh man, okay. And so one of my strategies was tagging Rob in everything I did on LinkedIn. If you notice that any post that's got nothing to do with Rob, he's tagged in it. I'll tag Jacinda Ardern, I'll tag Carmel Cipollone. If I'm trying to get to the health Ministry of Health, I'll tag Andrew Little, all of them. I just tag them. So And I actually, when I met Jacinda, I think it was last year, we had a Zoom, and then we met. She came to our headquarters to have a chat and see what we're doing. And I talked to her. I said, "Oh man, you should use LinkedIn." And she said, "Oh, I'm on it, but I thought it was mainly job stuff." And I said, "Man, everything we've been getting has all been coming from LinkedIn." And then lo and behold, she's starting to use LinkedIn a lot more. So it's it's definitely one of the best moves I made was jumping on LinkedIn. I still post the same. I don't post any different to the way I post on other platforms. But it's just, yeah, it's just different to everything else that's on there, I think,
Well, there's a massive lesson to be learned for charities, because I think New Zealand, I could be wrong, but someone tell me, but from what I've researched, New Zealand has one of the highest ratios per capita of charities in the world. Like there are like thousands and thousands of charities for only 5 million people. What I think is ninja about that you get the gold star with is you've taken your charity, which your mission and purpose and what all that straight onto a platform, and you've genuinely executed it, which is good. I want to jump into this for a second. You said the word red tape. Now I'm imagining that someone with your previous background with how you roll doesn't just roll into and say, "Hey, we're going to do this." Government and councils and charities and all the rest of it. I'm sure there's things that have paperwork, and there's processes and systems and structures, and there's probably a lot of ways that you should have done it, Dave. And it seems that you haven't really done any of that. So do you want to maybe talk about your journey through the lack of red tape to just execute and get shit done?
Yeah, and again, people ask me this all the time. Now, lots of charities that because we support lots of other organizations, I said, "Man, how are you doing this?" I said, "Oh, it's hard for me to explain, and it's not something you can do quickly. This has happened organically, and it's work. Like understanding it, how to work social media, understanding how to make connections, and working your ass off to do it. You still got to do the work. Like we're highlighting our work. Without the work, there's nothing to highlight. So." But the how this all happened, I didn't have any infrastructure around me when I first started. It was just me running boot camps, and I'm trying to get funding. But I'd go to to organizations that DHBs or whatever the case may be, even just different grant funders, and they're always asking for data,
and criteria.
For data. See, do not follow me on Facebook. Have you not seen all my before and afters? What do you mean data? And but now I understand as I've gone along, and I was going, shit, I do need to start keeping some data, I guess. And I've built some infrastructure around me, so we've got like 5 workers now, 2 in the office. And what that does is allows me just to do what I do best, which is just to be out there. I have understood that when I first started, I was more of a terrorist rather than just an activist. I was more of a terrorist, and now I just think I'm a little bit of a disruptor. But I've learned, that sometimes you can't go. There's times and places where there's a time when you have to go off, and you have to let everyone know what's happening, like what I've done with government in the past. And then there's a time when you have to just sit back and let it roll, But then you can do things in the background. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
and the good. Yeah.
No, keep going.
The good thing that's happened with us now, and there's heaps of things to come out that I can't announce yet, but there's some really good stuff that's happening, and it's happening on our terms. The support that we're getting from MSD, say we're getting support from them now for our food bank. So our food bank, we've spent $116,000 of our own money that we're able to be, from grant funders like Hugh Green Foundation North, Ted Manson Foundation, all these places, but nothing from government. So we're, again, blessed with these connections, blessed that, Ted, I'll tell you a story. Ted Manson, I got introduced to him, didn't really know who he was. Same like I didn't know who Rob was. Didn't know who Rob was until I Googled him. And I said, I said, I'll just train you for free, bro. I just want to help you out, And then I Googled him. I said, well, maybe I'll just $20 a session. But so Rob introduced me to Ted. Didn't really know who he was, and then I get to this office, and it's amazing. And this guy sitting in his office said, "What do you need?" And he gave us straight off. I think it was, what is it? This foundation gave us straight off 100K off one meeting. But it's the work. They see the work. Like you said, I've never seen him. I don't even know if he's on LinkedIn, but they see it, So I wasn't in there trying to explain any, because he already knew, and so here's something. And then he came to my our headquarters here where we are. And he came, I think it was the flashiest car that's ever been in our car park, this Ferrari, but a real nice guy, and he sat down with me and I introduced him to the team. They got photos with his car, and then we're sitting down in the office, and he's just talking about family, because how much time are you spending with your family, which is something, as it's all of us young guys that are out there, or youngish, out there grinding, trying to build our empires. Our family can get left behind, and he's talking to me about, that's not good enough, because at least I was a good weekend dad. He was talking to me, I was working hard through the week, but I was there in the weekends. He goes, you can't even be there in the weekends. And so it just started making me think, I've got to make that time, at least in the weekends, to be there, to be there for my family. And so we started getting that support. So I've gone right off, started getting all that support, but everything I'll send. So I'll send stuff to people in government, just screenshots of things that are happening. Not complaining. So it wasn't the time to say, we're not getting anything. It wasn't the time to say anything like that. Just do the work, send screenshots. And then now, because of a relationship we've got with MSD, with other things we're doing, we started getting support for our food bank, which is a big help. It's a huge relief. But it's happening our way. The things that I'm doing, it's not, we're not bound by the system. We're doing it because the system understands is that what we're doing works. It's outside the box, and that the same things that they've been doing aren't working. So why would you continue doing them? You've got to do things that are working, and they might be out the box. They might not fit the criteria, but they're working. So don't try and hold people down. Just give them some boundaries and give them a few numbers they've got to fill in, and let them do it. Like I've said to, when I had that Zoom with Jacinda, she was talking about, we're giving millions and millions and millions to organizations to help with this stuff. I said, well, the problem is you're giving it to the wrong people. I don't blame you. I blame the people you're giving the money to. You're giving it to the wrong organizations. They're so far removed now from the community they're meant to be helping. They don't know what's going on. So that's the same thing. If you want things to change, so you go to community homes, right? You go to these transitional housing, or you go to emergency housing, and the stuff you see will shock you. You would no longer think you're in New Zealand. You know what I'm saying? So it's with me, right? My father was the president of the mongrel mob, but he was the only one who went off the rails, and he come from a good family. So for me to break that cycle wasn't as hard as people that I go and see who come from generations going back as long as you can remember, of hopelessness and despair and just nothing. They've never had any positive influences in their lives. So to try and break those cycles is so incredibly hard. You need community, government, and business to work together and walk through them. It's a long journey. And that's one of the things that I'm proudest about with the way that I've built BBM, is that I've managed to pull together government, business, and our community. And that's the way it needs to be done. Everyone needs to wrap around the community, not the community go to them.
There's a whole bunch to unpack in that, but I think if there's a lesson for me that I've learned, for myself at I guess a smaller extent, but for yourself as well, is as soon as you get validated that it's possible for you to be able to win your way, the rules have changed. And when you afterwards try to, it'd be like right now, if I turned up here for this in a three-piece suit all fancy and be like, well, good morning everyone, thank you so much for coming. I was like, dude, what the fuck, what? Like, that's not you. You've been able to ninja move your way to execute externally, but by keeping it real the way you roll, and that's very, very, very difficult to do, because so many people have to like mold themselves to the system to be able to, oh yeah, yes master, yes, I'll do this, I'll tick that box, I'll do that thing. That like 99.9% of the people that exist in society that have to roll through that to try and have impact, that's what they have to do. They have to play the game, they have to do it a certain way. And what's epic about, and you can see it because it's real, is it's like that movie American Gangster with Frank Lucas, and he just realizes, yeah, stuff the middleman. I'm just going straight to the supplier, straight to direct to consumer, flipping straight to it, right? That's the shit. That's how it works. And what's great now is when you have the weight behind you. I did this one venture, and one of the to my other partners on it were big board members, publicly listed company and stuff. The whole ninja move was, you guys are the adults, I'm the child, so I'm going to come in and go way gnarlier and hotter for my mission and my passion and my purpose, and this is what I'm about. Stuff everyone else, I'm coming in hot. And I came in with, you talk about these gears, I would come in hot and then blow the shit up. I bounce out, and then their soundbite would be, cool, now that the children have left the room, let's have an adult conversation. And then they've got the engine behind it. But you've got that as well, because you've got the backing of these things, which are these engines, which can be trusted and which are scalable and which can execute on a localized level and nationally as well. But you'd be down to, so do not change that. Like, take it on the fact that of you have one doing it your way. Do not change that and go harder on it, because the second you try and mold it, it turns to shit. Henade, otherwise called it on Mahi, and positive vibes to community, 100%. And on this as well, I think it is not that this is just a big love fest for you, bro, but in a time when there's so much divisiveness around negativity, you're just going straight to the heart of good shit, doing good stuff. And George Rozier, massive props to what you do in the community. Your approach around fitness and food banks is the example that needs to be followed. So good. It's funny you talk about Manson, because I know the son, Callum Manson, who's a flipping legend as well. So it's cool. I didn't realize that they'd backed you, which is cool. But it's interesting too, when he sat down, he probably already knew he was going to give you $100,000. He just wanted to look you in the eyes and see the buzz, right? And also as well, I think so you're going to say something, bro?
Oh no, I was just saying that. Yeah, when I told, because he also helped us to get we had to move out of our headquarters. We're looking for another venue, to have our place, and it was short notice because I'm not organized and I left everything to the last minute. And he got every when Ted Manson rings you, and you're a real estate agent, I had every real estate agent in South Auckland looking for us a place. But it was funny, just seeing people's faces when I'd say, "Oh, wait on, I'll just ring him up." Who? And it's the same thing with Rob Campbell, and with Rob, we've become really close mates. He's one of my best mates, and he's our chairman of the thing we do. It's people, again, I didn't realize, hearing you talk off air about how much of a heavyweight he is. And I think it's a good thing that, I didn't know who these people were, because it just was organic, we got along because of who they actually are as a person, not because of what they can do for you,
Yeah, I was the same when I met him. I had no flipping clue. We were at this thing. He got up, started talking, and like everyone's in suits and boots and shit, and he's just like rocking this like casual sweater, just hanging up. He stands up and says some shit, and I literally go to the guy next to him, like, "Yo, is this dude flipping tripping, or is he actually, that is either so next level that he's just on another plane that no one else is thinking of?" He's like, "Yeah, he's pretty good, bro." And I'm like, dude, I need to hang out with it. Like, it was, everyone was right, and he was just rolling left. So I wanted to maybe jump into this bit for a second. We're all human, and we all try to help. You'd think the majority of us try to help others. You are extremely, driven and persistent and passionate about what you do and how you do it. But the strain on your energy is probably, you're very similar to myself in this, is when you go in on something, you go flipping hard and you go fifth gear. It's just balls to the wall, go in, smash it, go nuts. But the time frame on being able to do that doesn't last for years and years and years at that same level. What have you learned about balancing your energy for helping others versus helping yourself, versus helping your friends, versus helping your family, versus helping your father and your partner and all the rest of it? How have you navigated, what have you learned about your energy with trying to help yourself and others?
I haven't learned, bro, to be honest. Yeah, I haven't learned. I'm still trying to figure that out. Yeah, it's tough. Like I survive on coffee, and if I'm eating good, I handle things a lot better. But this lockdown, I haven't been eating that great, and the pressure has been unbelievably tough. But yeah, I'm still trying to learn that balance. I think about it all the time. I look at my kids. My youngest son still sleeps with us, and And I'll just look at him at night, and I'll look at when I come in, and I'll look at my my other sons that are asleep, and I always think, man, Ian driving to work, I've got to spend more time with my family. They're growing up so fast. But there's always last night I got home pretty, early. Got home was maybe 7 o'clock or something. But I was just on the computer. I was just working because I've got my online fitness platform, which is how I make money. So I'm working all of that. So I'll do the community thing through the day and do all that, help the families. And I get home, I've still got to do my commercial side. And I'm just on my laptop. My son's wanting to talk, wanted to play, but I couldn't. But that's a choice, So I am constantly working on that because I always say, my why is my children and my people and helping people. When I first started, my why was getting my children back because I didn't have them, and it was just the urge and the deep down. I had to have my kids back, and that's what got me up, and I've talked about it often. Where I'd always think about the last look my son gave me when I last saw him. He stared at me, and it was incredibly tough. He knew the look on his face as he knew that it was going to be a while before he saw me. And then I'd have clothes of theirs, and I'd smell them at night, and I'd just be crying my ass off every night. But I used it as motivation, and fuel. And then I think now I've got my kids, and then now I'm not hardly there, So. I haven't found the balance. I do need to work on it, and I'm trying my best, and that's the main thing, I guess.
At least you're honest with it, and that's probably one of the things too. Is it's the openness to be able to talk through it when you're so passionate to help others, but then you can't forget yourself too. Is if you go down, the whole ship sinks. And it's one of the it's one of the dangers when you're the captain of the ship, but is the brand about you, the person, or the platform? And one of the biggest risks, which I've I guess myself as well noticed at some point, is if I'm on the ship, we're rocking. If I'm off the ship, probably in the past a lot of times it's sunk without the energy there and the drive and the coming in at fifth gear and raising everyone else, and that energy is tricky. And one of the pro lessons for myself I've learned, especially over lockdown and being away, is how do you scale your intent and things you want to create without you physically there? And I give the example of, Richard Branson. I've never met Richard Branson, but before I flew on his planes, Virgin Airlines, I kind of knew what it would feel like. I kind of knew what the vibe would be. I kind of knew whatever. And there's some lessons to be learned because unfortunately, you can't scale yourself, but you can scale your intent. So it's going to be something you probably navigate through. But I'm imagining what you don't want is cool, you get your kids back, but then you wake up at 60, and if you haven't flipped and seen them for 20 years, then it's like, oh well, shit, well, stuff that one up. It's just almost like you get a second go, but it's cool that you're aware of it too, right?
Well, some of something that with my dad we clash over a lot, because my father he runs a organization called Grace Foundation, which look after prisoners, battered women, homeless people with nowhere to go. And that takes all his time. So I lost him to prison. So I didn't, I lost, a lot of the years with him to prison. So, we still have a lot of issues with that. But then I always get angry with him because, he's never seen my kids. But then, we're both in that. We're both what we call servant leaders. We serve, but we can't forget our family. So, something I'm working on. And, with our team, I guess with our team, because everyone here started for free. So it was a hard thing. All of our team that work here started coming to boot camps. As we started scaling and hitting more areas, because as the funding that we get, we go, for example, we got some funding from Counties Manukau Sport. So look, Dave, we love what you do, but you've got to do a boot camp in Otahu. I said, okay. So I just started in Otahu, doing it at a field there. And as we started doing more of these things in pop-up areas, I obviously couldn't scale me, couldn't only do so much. So I started getting people that were in our group coming to our boot camps that were, showed some great results. And, they were, so I'd slowly start training them in. But everyone here is, it's ingrained in them. And they've turned their whole their lives around through coming up and starting the boot camps when I was running them. So they're just around me constantly. So they think exactly the way I do. So yeah, so I'm very blessed with a great team that I just come on social media. You know, they're the ones doing all the work now. Yeah.
Well,
I'll say, Phil, hold this camera and I'll put a box on the pallet there. Yeah, so I'm very lucky with a great team.
well, it's that, you know, you've almost got the disciples that see what you see. But, you know, I think when you can crack the code of being able to scale up an engine that you can help lead from the front, but the nuts and bolts operationally can get taken out. You know, there's probably a lot to learn through, you know, the way Oprah scaled from, you know, essentially you're going through the process of going from a person to platform, right? You're starting to flip where it's like, cool, the brand, but the brand of you represents something more than itself. So it's kind of cool because now with all this backing, essentially you're just going to be building a team around you to get in execution mode to go and do that, which is super cool. One of the things I'm interested to ask you about is you've always been extremely open and vulnerable with no fear to have tough conversations about what you're going through yourself personally, whatever. Have many men, tough alpha male men come to you on the back channels and talk to you about either the inspiration or the widening that you've helped them with their own stuff? Because, you know, if you look at, say, the John Kerwin thing coming through with mental health, and, you know, the Richie Hardcores of the worlds and yourselves, and, you know, these other kind of good Kiwi, I guess, alpha men that are doing it, what's the feedback like from others in the community when you get to show that, like, it's okay to be vulnerable and be honest when shit's tough and all the rest of it? Because that's a lot more real in the streets with what you're messing with than necessarily just the boardroom with a leader saying be vulnerable and authentic, but not actually doing it.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about us is that we can mix and mingle in so many circles. You know, I feel comfortable at a gang funeral just as much as I do in a boardroom. You know, we can walk in so many different lanes. But, you know, in terms of the feedback, you know, I get so many messages from people that are just doing it tough. You know, one of the more recent ones I got, it was someone that was just got out of prison, was mixed up in the gang life, chasing material things, you know. Sometimes when you chase these material things, that's your idea of success, and you've got no, and you feel like there's no other way of achieving them but only doing crime. You know, so he was just out of prison and he messaged me and basically wanted to give up. You know, wanted to give up on life, and he just felt like a complete failure. He'd leave the house and he'd go sleep in the park, so his family would think he was out looking for work, but, you know, he couldn't get anything anywhere. You know, so you know, just talking, I just be real and I just say, look, I've been through it. You know, I came back here 7 years ago with nothing. You know, and I went through that same life of trying to acquire material things through the wrong methods. You know, and I think that's one of the benefits is people, they know the story and so we can identify on so many levels, you know, with the gangs. But I've also owned businesses and then had lost and then flopped, you know, and having to rebuild. I've had to rebuild my life a number of times, hopefully never again. But you know, and then also, you know, where I put a knife into my chest because I was just hated my life so much and things were so down. So I think we relate on so many different levels to people. And, you know, what I always say with, you know, when I was talking to our team where we got some BDM stickers, which we put on our food boxes. And I said to them, you know, the team were just putting them on any which way. I said, no, team, we've got to put these on so you don't see a crooked Nike sign, you know. So these go on properly, all uniform, because they represent hope. These are what these aren't just advertising. This here represents hope. BBM represents hope for people that it's possible. You know, that's what we represent in our community. The fact that they know it's possible to achieve greatness, doesn't matter where you come from, because we've done it. You know, and we've done it with nothing. You know, to where we are now, impacting, you know, tens of thousands of people.
When you think of legacy in the long game of, you know, that solo mother who you help out, and in 20 years those kids remember you coming to their doorstep with food, and you think about, you know, all those specific situations, do you think about the long tail effect of how you're impacting generationally now with the community?
Sometimes I'll sit back and have a think of when I was doing doing some numbers last night, actually, putting reports together, having to
Data, bro, data,
yeah,
dude, data.
Well, I'll see one thing I was thinking, why the fuck am I doing this? But, I was just wanted to, and I was just looking at the numbers, and I was just mind blowing, And that's when times like that is when I sit back and I think, man, this is unbelievable, just creating such a positive impact on so many, and just taking the stress off families that, not having to go out and buy shopping, they can then use that money to go and pay bills, to put petrol in the car to go to work. Yeah, it's pretty. I don't think I'll ever understand the full scale of it, but people will message me and they'll say, you don't understand the impact that you're having. So it's an amazing feeling, man, and that's why I do it. It's not about the money, it's not about anything else, but the feeling of helping even just one person. The feeling of helping one person. It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, you will definitely get that at a way deeper level than most. I think when it will hit you is when you will be. I've thought about it, for different bits and pieces, but you'll probably the same. You'll be 60 years old in a cafe somewhere, and some 30-year-old woman will come walking up to you and be like, "Yo, you won't realize," and it'll be these breadcrumbs that you create. They're generational. It's a long game. It's macro. It's all these moments, because those moments, I always think about. The moments matter. Like turning up with these things, it opens up possibilities for things, that it brings in hope, it brings in ideas and aspirations, and it's really, really super important. Not many people get that. Like when I do a bunch of stuff I do, you do a bunch of stuff you do, and you just on go, go, go. But I think the great thing is the seeds that you're sowing now, these breadcrumbs, it will be decades from now when you actually see the long tail growth of these things. It's not, a quarterly fiscal budget which comes out, which goes into an organization. It's not a PDF report which gets hit at the boardroom that just goes out the back. It's like, no. Sharon from Pukekohe is now in a better spot with her 3 kids, Steve, Bob, and Jane, who you then met and helped in 2021 when they had nothing and you gave them food. Like, that's the shit. And I think it's so mega. Paul just jumped in. Dave is the absolute man. What a good human. Shot, Paul. So if you were to wave a magic wand of, I'm not saying if you're prime minister for today, but let's just go at a macro with what makes you different to this moment in New Zealand. If you were to wave a magic BBM wand for your mission for New Zealand, what would that look like?
Oh, man. There's so many issues, bro. And if we're talking Māori and PI, we're overrepresented in all of the bad stats, prisons, health. All I would do, bro, is all you got to need to do is go into any community that's deprived, anywhere that's having these issues, and you go and see the community groups that are there day in, day out, doing it for nothing, doing it on breadcrumbs, surviving with nothing, but doing it because they see the need. And their passion is to help people and support them, help them to scale, put procedures and protocols and all this type of stuff like that we actually have now, but don't bound them by things, don't give them, 10-page reports they've got to do when they're only a 2-man operation. You know what I mean? That happened to us one time where we got given $20,000 by an organization who get millions. And they put so much bureaucracy on me. I said I keep the second one because we got 2 lots of 20K over, so 20K a year. I said keep the second one. I don't want it because I can't do this reporting. I didn't have anyone. I had a girl that was coming to my boot camp do all the admin stuff for just in her spare time trying to do these reports for me. So really, if you want to solve all these issues that are going on, go into communities, see what's working, and help them. The model's us, what we're doing here in BBM. That's the model, where we're working with other groups, other community groups. We're reporting all the data, but we're not bound by anything. We just help. Everything. The thing is with us is that there's no level of bureaucracy with us. If people come to me and they need help, if we have it, we help them. All we do is say, okay, all we need to know is how many people you're helping with what we're giving. That's it. You know, that's all. The numbers that I'm quoting to people don't even include the random messages I get on social media and help. You know, so that's all you need to do, man. It's just so simple. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's already people doing the mahi. There's already people there. You know, you support them.
So, if I was you, and if I was thinking about what you're thinking, if this is there's all these other people doing the good mahi all over New Zealand. What is the current strategy in your head to try and scale BBM across New Zealand? Is this a licensing play of here's our blueprint, go to town and do good work, go? How does it go from, global to, local to national? What's your scale strategy?
Yeah, I talked about this with someone. I said, you need to franchise this. I said, well, you can't franchise it in a typical franchise model because we don't charge our people anything. So how would it be worth the gyms trying to say franchise the BBM name if they can't charge anyone? Because I'll never let anyone charge anyone. So that's a big thing we have to get over. So the only way you can do it is we've started to create a course where we'll get registered with reps or whoever, the NZQA or whatever you got to do. And then we could go and train trainers, right? Then we do deals with different health departments that are in the whatever area, DHBs, even though they're on the way out. Different health organizations in these areas who can fund these trainers to do BBM classes, because the best class that needs to be everywhere is the from the couch class, because it's focusing on people with long-term conditions. They'll never go to a normal gym. They're diabetic, obese, or gout, whatever the long-term condition is. But the From the Couch program works. It's the culture of not being judged, the exercises that we do. But the exercises, it's just a minor part of what we do. It's the everything else it's the culture, the vibe. It's like, like a village or a marae where people belong to. They're a part of it. If you need help, we're going to give it. And that's the essence of BBM is what needs to be taught to whatever trainer is going to be doing BBM. It's not the exercises, and you can go anywhere and be told to do burpees. So that's how we'll do it. That's one day it's going to have to be throughout the system where different PHOs, primary health organizations, will have the license for our classes, and they can fund the different trainers, so those trainers can get paid to teach people for free.
Have you talked to gyms and stuff or others that have licensed programs and bits and pieces about this?
I talked to the council because, the council had Les Mills classes in some of their, leisure centers, which is cool. I said, but any of these, they don't, you need BBM in there. You need BBM in your leisure centers because it's far more than just exercises, the connection and belonging, the culture of what we do. The problem with the other gyms is that, I've spoken to a few, but it's not our thing.
It's all commerce.
Yeah. BBM it's just a community thing. You can never lose that. So I've always said to our team leaders, and years ago, we've been going 7 years. Years ago, I said to our team, to a few of the ones that I see all the time, I said to our team leaders, look, one day we're going to have our own gym. You guys are all going to work for us, and it's going to be amazing. And they just looked at me like I was crazy. Now they are, but I said, no matter how big we get and how successful we get and how much money starts to come, we never forget our why, and our why is about helping people, so that keeps our feet firmly planted on the ground. And that's what makes sure if we ever do scale to go nationwide, it has to remain, it's the why, it's the community and the culture of what we do.
Well, I think it'd be a really interesting exercise to do because it would force you to create a strategy to scale yourself because physically you can't be everywhere all the time. So it actually would make you go through that process of trying to segment out your physical being from the energy within an organization to be able to actually go and have a life as well, or else, it all crumbles away. I'm interested to know from the street side perspective, how does the politics of gangs work with you and what you do in the community? You obviously have a safe space. There's no gang shit around, and it's there about the family and like what. And I ask because I support Jamie with A-Town Boxing in Aranui on Hampshire Street, and it's a safe space for the gangs to go and train. And it's basically in that spot and space, patches down, rags down, and it's there for fitness for each other and for the whānau. What's the dynamic been like with gangs in Auckland as you've sort of navigated this over the last couple of years?
Yeah, we never have any issues at all. You know, the gangs are aware of what we do for our people. And in the jails especially, we have a really good reputation in the prisons, just because they're aware of what we do. You know, lots of the prisoners, you know, we've had prisoners come out and come join our class, and they'll say that they're, you know, lots of the people inside will say, oh man, Butterbean hooked my family up with food. You know, so our reputation is earned, our respect is earned on the streets. And also obviously with my father's background and what he's come from, we have lots of different gangs that come and train in here. But we're, you know, BBM's a gang. You know, this is my gang. You know,
it's a good gang. Good gang.
Yeah, it's a good gang. And I always say people want to belong to something good like us. You know, we have our sign. It's the same dynamic, same thing. Whether it's a religion, a church, the Lions Club. You know, I went to a Lions Club and I spoke. My friend was becoming the president. Lions Club, Rebuera. Me and Rob went. And I got up and I said, geez, I had to speak there, you know? And I said, oh, this is just like a gang patching. So my mate here is becoming the prez. You know, it's the same thing. You've got the secretary, you've got the sergeant at arms, you know, it's everything. It's all the same, but it's just whether it's positive or not, you know? So what we hear, we belong to something positive, but it's run just like a gang, you know, people belong to something. It's just positive. You know, that's all we are. The whole reason why I started BBM years ago was so I can surround people with positivity, because I understood that not everyone was lucky enough to be around positivity in their normal day-to-day lives. So what I said to our team leaders is, you got to understand how important what we're doing here is. This hour might be the only time that they're around other positive influences, might be the only time they can actually focus on themselves and not others, you know? So that's what BBM is, you know, it's positivity. It's all we do, you know.
If you had $10 million drop on your doorstep overnight, what would you do with BBM?
Ooh, that would solve the problem about it. It wouldn't just be nationwide, it'd be worldwide. Now, look, what I do is with $10 million, I go and feed every single person that was hungry. You know, I go to all the community groups I have. So say if we get 10 mil, I'll go and give $1 million to every community group that we already support, you know, because I'm supporting them because I know the work they're doing and the impact they're having is huge. So imagine what that impact will be if they had $1 million. You know what I mean? We've created this impact with virtually nothing. You know, so it's just when you get all of a sudden when you get some money, it just blows it up. And I think one of the reasons why so many organizations are supporting us, well, one of the reasons is because they see it. Whatever we get, we give it out 110% off. You know, there's nothing in the middle that gets sucked out. I don't draw a wage. I live off my business, off my commercial side of what I do. You know, but everything that we get donated, it's just out. It just goes. I've got vouchers in my car that I meet people. I'll meet people at the lights, window washers. Please, Butterbean, please. You know, I need food here, you know, here's a voucher, you know. So it's just it's crazy.
There's, you know, that saying, you know, give a man a fish, eats for a day, teach a man to fish, goes for a lifetime. How do you integrate the teach a man to fish mentality, or can you, with what BBM does? Because obviously that's going to be like the 10 million is cool. Let's just play this thing out. Cool, they get $1 million each, and then that's spent. How do you address that, either education upskilling or that next one to teach a man to fish? Like, how do you start to get into that? It's almost like phase 2, right? Yeah. Like phase 1 is feed.
We're already in it, bro. So we started this community kitchen, right? So everything we do is about education. So when I say exercise, that's only our vehicle. When they're here, when people are here exercising, we get them in with free exercises. While we're running the classes, we're seeding positive messages, you know, about life, about getting up. So just example, when you're down and you don't think you can complete another rep, but you get up and you do another rep, that makes you mentally stronger. You know, it's about applying everything that got you through that session. Apply it to your normal life, because life's not easy. It sucks sometimes. You have to push through it. You have to keep getting up. So it's all these things we seed. And then with our community kitchen, we're teaching people how to cook healthy on a budget, how to shop healthy on a budget. We're helping people to get work, so it's, for me, it's all about breaking cycles. And look, I never really wanted to continue this food bank, but I have to. But my vision for the food bank, and that's why I've gone and invested in a whole new bloody warehouse that's its own standalone food bank. And we've been lucky, with Jack Boxall. We saw a post on LinkedIn, and he came and fitted the whole thing out. Auckland Racking and Shelving Solutions, bit of a plug there. They fitted the whole warehouse out with shelving, and then hooked us up with a forklift from LinkedIn. But what my plan is, so we help the families with food, but then we can okay, if they're continually getting food parcels off us, we have to connect with our navigators. We have 2 navigators that help with wins. So, okay, what else do you need? Because I had this conversation with my uncle. My uncle was also a bank robber and a Mongrel Mob member. He's now totally turned his life around and helping people. He's based in Whanganui. He's messaging me families to go and feed for the past month. So yeah, we'll be helping, but I see a lot of young names on there, on this list. So I'm saying to my uncle, what are they doing? Do they need help with work? I can't continually, he said to me, Dave, how long can you provide these food parcels for? Well, as long as they need it. The key word there is need. What are they doing with the money that we're helping them to save? Are they buying drugs? Are they buying alcohol? Or is it going to bills and helping them with their family? If they need work, come see me and I help them with work. So it's a fine line. I don't want to be continually handing out. I want to give our people a hand up, because that's how you can break cycles. But if you want to change, you can. That's the thing, but you have to want it. So that's why I'm talking to the people that we're seeing and that we're engaged with. Unfortunately, look, some people just don't want it. Some people don't want it, but I can't let their kids go hungry. You know what I mean? So as much as I don't want to support the parents because I think they're useless and they're lazy, it's not the kids' fault. So I have to keep doing it because it's the kids, and then hopefully those kids are seeing us come. Seeing us, and then we can slowly work. It's a long road. Slowly work on the parents. Get them into courses. Get them into our boot camps to do training, and get them into our pre-employment courses. To upskill them, get them a CV, help them with a job. Get them licenses, things like that. So we have all these other wraparound services that we're able to offer, and that's going to be the future with the food bank, where giving people food that's the connection, and then we've earned that trust there, and then we get all the other services coming in behind us. We've opened the door, and they can come in and help them with anything else they need.
Makara Hendry, had the pleasure of having Dave speak at my Pacifica graduation at Massey Uni. Super inspirational and driven. Would agree.
Oh, awesome.
Very cool. If someone was crew listening or watching this now and they wanted to support you and what you're doing, where can they go to and what can they do?
Just go to my website. I'm sure you'll post the link there. It's www.thebbmprogram.com, and it's got a donate button there. Reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest, to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm probably easier to get to on LinkedIn than actually texting me. Yeah.
Dude, I really appreciate your time, man. It was cool. I gave some props last week for the stuff you do. Is New Zealand needs more of it, but I think there are many people who are doing so good in the community, but they're not executing it to the same levels with either access or the awareness that's happening externally for the stuff you're doing on social. So when the day comes, my friend, when you are nominated for the finalists of New Zealander of the Year, let me know, and I'm going to come and support you 100%. And I cannot wait for the day when more of New Zealand recognizes the good that you're doing, and also potentially thinking about the blueprint that could be possible to try and execute what you're doing well in one region, but potentially across New Zealand. And hopefully that's done with BBM with you and the helm, and having a good balance between passion you're trying to do for others, but also for you, your whānau, and making sure that you can try and be present there as well. It's a tricky one to balance, and best of luck on that journey, because it's probably going to be one of your biggest challenges as time goes on, which I think we both know. So I definitely appreciate your time, bro.
Hey, thanks so much, and thanks everyone tuning in, and to any of my supporters, to every one of my supporters and sponsors, thank you so much. We couldn't do this without you.
My man. JJ. Shot, bro, that way. Much love, man. Talk soon. Be good. Be safe. And I'll talk to you in a bit. Appreciate it, bro.
Thanks, team.
Shot, G. Later, bro. There you go. The brave Dave Letele. Awesome chat. Good human. Great man. And it's very cool seeing someone doing such good, awesome, positive stuff for others in the community. Direct to consumer. See, Frank Lucas is just like American Gangster, just like cut the middleman, straight to the flip, straight to the source. And that's what he's been doing very well indeed. So if you want to support him, the BBM program, BBM. Great chat. Thanks, guys. Great. Mahi, BBM, 100% agree. Super cool. Hopefully, if you haven't heard of Dave, go check him out. His LinkedIn is all plugged in. I'm connected up here, or the bbmprogram.com. And if any of you are decision makers or LinkedIn lurkers or CEOs and executives and running businesses or companies that can potentially get behind something like this directly, very easy to track down, and it's pretty simple. You can see the impact that he's having in his community through looking at all of the good work that he's doing. So that is us done and dusted for the day. I hope you've enjoyed that little chat. New Zealand is obviously having struggling times at the moment, but instead of having been thinking about this a little bit, instead of this opportunity around energy again, sucked into division, I'm always thinking about, instead of division, what bits can you add value into the ecosystem? What can you do better to help others as well? So that's coming too. Enjoy the day, team. Adios. Off to the next. Peace.